I'm actually quite excited about this video because it's something I've been holding back for the home stretch of the series. Now in this video we have 2 gameplays for you. The first gameplay comes from Jesus with some League play, and you guys have probably seen him in the comment section of almost every BluePrint video. He's all about competitive gaming, so I'm sure he's doing backflips over this video and be all over the comment section in this one. And the second gameplay comes from Rico, who's not doing any League play. I just needed a 6-minute video on this motherfucker. But anyways, let's start with a simple question. Why do you play Call of Duty? Do you play because you enjoy curb stomping people? Do you play with friends? Do you enjoy trolling, cheating, and glitching? Hey, be honest, just a question this motherfucker. Do you like seeing yourself on a leaderboard or prefer the social elements of the game? You know, right now, Call of Duty has pigeonholed all of us into playing with each other, even if we want to play different ways. With the exception of the past 2 years with clan support on Call of Duty Elite and now League play, casual fans are mixed in with hardcore fans, so a group of 6 people just looking to play for fun could end up in a room against a clan of 6 people who are League players looking to hone their skills. You know the ass kicking that's about to come from that game. Trick shotters like to play search and destroy for kill cams and then get pissed when you get competitive players in their lobbies who piss all over their kill cams and shit. You know, because they want to moan in ecstasy over a bullshit shot that's probably been done over 200 times already on fucking YouTube. Face it, kids, that shit is more worn out than your shit-streaked underwears. Well, I have a simple solution for all this bullshit. For the lack of a better term, people will have the option to select from one of 3 different game modes: casual, competitive, and arcade. Within these game modes, you will be placed into rooms of like-minded people who play the game the same way you prefer to. And here's how it works. At the main selection screen for online play, you know, the regular multiplayer and shit like that, the first 3 screens you will see will be for these 3 modes where you can select which one you feel like playing. And basically, it's like choosing a game type or playlist, only this is the first layer of selection you will have. With League play implemented in Black Ops 2, we now have a bigger differentiation of who plays this game to assess skill level and who plays this game casually and doesn't give a fuck about skill and just wants to have fun. And I want to expand on that. Now, let's make this clear about casual and competitive. Other than calling it regular or normal or League play or some shit, there's no way to convey this to people who are not into the whole competitive scene. You know, game battles, clan wars, ladders, Major League Gaming, and all that shit. The biggest difference that separates these 2 groups of people are stats. That's really it. Competitive people care about how they stack up against other competitive players. Winning takes precedence. Leaderboards take precedence. Stats accumulate showing levels of skill compared to other players. People who don't want to play competition-based modes are less likely to worry about statistical comparisons to other players. I mean, sure, they care about their scores, their kill-death ratios, and whatnot, but it's not in the same manner as a competitive player would. A competitive player cares about his standing in the world, his stats against other good players, of course, and the ultra-competitive players always refer to normal matchmaking as pub stomps. The basic fundamental difference is always stats. Competitive people want comparisons against others, and in video games, statistics are what you need to use for comparison's sake. And that would be the core difference between the 2 modes. Casual mode and competitive mode would be pretty much identical in terms of games that people can play, but the main difference would be a de-emphasis of stats in casual mode. Both modes will have the same game types: team deathmatch, domination, kill confirm, you name it, but the tone of casual would be different. I would make 2 main changes to casual mode. First would be the removal of deaths from scoreboards and public leaderboards. I'd keep kills, total points, and probably objectives captured and whatnot, but when you press select to see the scores or when you see the end of the game scoreboard screen come up, deaths and kill ratios will be removed from all scoreboards. And let's be honest for a second, a good portion of rage quitters leave matches because they're embarrassed by their performance. Casual removes the social pressures. It's no longer an e-penis measurement since the focus of the mode will be the gameplay as opposed to statistical value. The second change I would make would be a reduction in XP. Since casual mode is the emphasis of stats, then ranking up would be part of that. XP will be cut in half in all casual modes, and this will be very important when I get into the next video. If a kill in team deathmatch is 100 XP in competitive, then it's going to be 50 XP in casual. Getting a kill in domination is worth 50 in competitive, but only 25 XP in casual. This will certainly separate people who want to rank up quickly for those who just don't give a fuck and they just want to play this game for shits and giggles. The fact is, there are people who play Call of Duty just to kill some time, or they just want to enjoy a few minutes away from the real world. They don't want to have to deal with ultra competitive assholes. They don't want to have to worry about going 10 and 17 in a game and being called a scrub. Part of what turns people off to certain video games is the social element. Having to be berated over skill, which I am certainly guilty of because I'm a highly competitive person. I have no issue calling somebody a scrub in my room if they don't do shit. But anyway, that's another story. It's not something people always want to deal with. Casual mode provides them with that level of comfort where stats are insignificant. And aside from bot stomp, this is something that Call of Duty has needed for years. Competitive mode will be everything we're already used to. Scoreboards, leaderboards, player cards, all emphasizing statistical value. Our core and hardcore modes will be available as well as League play. But I'll say this, I have a whole issue with this silver, gold, iron ladder system and all that bullshit. I mean, what the fuck else can we add? Tinfoil? Fake gold? Chinese drywall? Unobtainium levels? You know, I know what Treyarch tried to do by attempting having the bracket system which people qualify and play in these shits. The problem is, no matter what formula you use, no matter how many calculators you bust out, no matter how many times you raise Einstein himself from the dead to write a fucking algorithm, there is no way to measure skill by stats. It's impossible. Win-loss ratio isn't always accurate because you can have a solid team work together, but they suck ass individually when they don't play together. Or you can have one member of a team who tags along for the ride, gets carried by better teammates, and the dude has a 200-game winning streak, meanwhile the motherfucker can't break even in kills in any match. His ass is getting backpacked by his better teammates. Kill-death ratio doesn't equate to shit either, because we all know there are people who care more about their kill-death ratio and will post up endlessly getting kills and avoiding objectives. Points are a decent indicator, but it's not perfect when it comes to games. All those factors, all those playstyles cannot be quantified by one formula. You really can't judge the value of a player and determine what ladder system they belong to. Especially if the ladder system just adds people according to percentiles. It's a flawed system, fueled by the inability to measure a player's value or skill. And unfortunately, no matter what system you use in League Play, each one comes with its own flaws. Elimination tournaments are prone to the upset mentality of a bracket system. Ladders use statistical data, which I've already mentioned, are partially flawed. Point accumulators just reward players who played longer than others. There's no easy fix or solution to determining who the best players are. But I do have some suggestions. The second issue I have with League Play are gaming restrictions. This perk is overpowered. That kill streak is overpowered. This gun takes some kind of skill. This gun is for noobs. This map is meant for camping. Who the fuck determined this bullshit? No, really, who the fuck is sitting there as the guru of rules in this bitch? I mean, here's a big fucking slap in the forehead to any stupid motherfucker too ignorant to believe this. Everything in a game can be used and abused. Everything. Just because one asshole thinks something is bad doesn't mean there isn't another person out there who thinks it's balanced. Sure, there's some brain-fuckingly bad ideas in Call of Duty. I've been mentioning it for 20 fucking videos already. But for everything I've added, I'm sure there's an argument against why it shouldn't be added in the first place. For everything I can't stand, I'm sure there's someone that can make an argument as to why it's in the damn game in the first place. You know, leagues don't want ghosts, UAVs, explosives, flak jacket, this fucking black hat crap, certain guns. Shut the fuck up. If you want to limit people, play bare bones. If you're worried about all this bullshit, then give them all this bullshit. Having one fucking asshole tell people what's overpowered or cheap is completely fucking subjective, and it doesn't equal a fair playing field. So how would I fix this bullshit? Well, there are a few things I would do. First is setting up weekly or semi-weekly tournament challenges for different players. There will be tournaments for clans only, tournaments for solo players with no clan, and free-for-all matches. Sort of what Call of Duty Elite tried to do 2 years ago but failed miserably at doing. Fucking piece of shit. Each tournament will have a maximum and minimum number of games you have to play to qualify, and that's very important because you don't want people skewing the results. You could have a team play one game, win 200-10 in domination, and use that as the measuring stick for results. No, that shit is not fucking happening. You could have someone play 50 games or more to basically accumulate stats or sabotage the results for other players and teams. That's why you would need a minimum and maximum number of games that you would need to play in these tournaments. Now, the unfortunate part of this is that a formula for success is needed. As much as I hate this, to measure a team or player's success, you would need to measure what they did in the game, and it would be a shitstorm of a complex formula. I mean, shit, just look at college football. They got that BCS bullshit. 15 fucking years, and they still can't get a formula correct to determine who the best team is because they have no goddamn term. Oh, man, you know what? I ain't gonna get started on that bullshit. But that's exactly what would happen here. I'm not gonna sit here and determine every nuance of that formula, but there's so much shit that we need to factor in. It's just not wins and losses or kill-death ratio objectives captured. I mean, just think of all these permutations for a second. Say you captured 9 flags in a game. That's a pretty good amount. But it was a flag trading game with 35 flags changed hands in a domination game. That's quite a large amount when you think about it. Now, say another team spawn-trapped another squad for a game, and you only captured 3 flags in the game, but only 7 flags total change hands. Technically, the player who captured 9 flags captured more flags, but his percentage of captures is lower than the person who only capped 3 flags. See, things like that show how different each game could be. By the end of this formula, more complex than the theory of relativity, each clan, each solo player, and each free-for-all player will earn what's considered an aggregate average score. Basically, add up all their points, weight them out, and do the average of the motherfucker. It sounds simple, but trust me, that shit is not. After the opening game or opening round in a tournament, then the players and teams will be matched up against teams who had similar point totals and will face off against them in the next round, the next game, or whatever the fuck it is. At the end of the tournament, there's no official winner, but the progress you have will be carried over and tracked into the next tournament. Your average point total means you will face people in the future tournaments with average point totals in the opening round or game that was similar to yours. And then, Based on the progress of that individual tournament success, you will move on and play teams that have your equal skill or point totals. Clans will earn point totals for the entire clan. No individual points will be awarded per person, while solo and free-for-all tournaments will award points to individuals and carry that over to next tournaments. Finally, at the end of the year, whatever the fuck developers feel like doing this shit, they can set up that Call of Duty Super Bowl or whatever the fuck they want to call that shit and have the top scoring teams and players face off. Give people the chance and opportunity to actually compete and earn prize money. Obviously, the professional teams will be most likely to have the top scores and they'll be there, but at least it's open to the non-professional teams and non-professional players who would potentially qualify. Now, as I mentioned, if I was the rules guru in this motherfucker, which technically I am, I would make it that each tournament has only one class to use. Every fucking player will only be able to use one class for that particular tournament. Fuck this bullshit of eliminating things. Fuck this bullshit that eliminates variety. Controlling every single class levels the playing field. No bitching about someone using something overpowered, whether it's a weapon, a perk, a kill streak. You'll all have the same fucking thing. Because at that point, what the fuck are you going to complain about? That someone's pink tiger lady camo is overpowered? Fuck that shit, man. As Microsoft would say, deal with it. Every tournament will have a new class to use, but let's be honest, if you're so fucking good at this game, if you think you have more talent than other players, you can use any gun in the game. And complaints about certain guns being used or be removed from the process, it is a win-win situation for every single person that will play this motherfucker. Now, one final thought that I want to add before moving on. Your ranking in competitive and casual all carry over to each other. There's no separate 2 modes, there's no separate 2 rank up systems. It's basically the same shit. Your created classes are the same, your challenges are the same, gun unlocks, attachments, everything. The only difference between these 2 modes is obviously one has league play and the other one has the XP reduction in casual mode with the de-emphasis of statistical value. Essentially, a line has now been drawn to sort out which players prefer which games. Nothing will stop a casual player or new Call of Duty player from advancing to a more competitive level based with stat competition. Nothing will stop a competitive player from just kicking back and playing a good 20 minutes of casual, not giving a fuck about stats for once. That's the main goal, and that's what stops Call of Duty's concept of only playing this game one way. Now, arcade mode is where shit hits the fan. This section would be almost a completely different world of its own, completely away from casual and competitive mode. All the crazy shit that's been in Call of Duty games would be here. Quick scoping, knifing matches, unlimited nude tubes, commando lunges, you name it. If it was horrible, it will be here. And it will have its own rank up system. Yes, this will be completely separate from the other 2 gaming modes because of how unique I would make this motherfucker. When you enter arcade mode, I would give you the option for some standard modes that anyone can join and find them, you know, like sniper only, knifing only, maybe that gun game or sticks and stones or some shit like that. In addition to a few standard modes at the beginning, there will be a section from custom games. This will be like private lobbies open to the general public. Yes, motherfucker, public-private matches. A host will create a game with all the parameters they want, sniping with a certain gun, throwing knives only, certain maps, certain health requirements, perks, you name it. Everything we see in private match options, you will have the ability to do here in public rooms where anybody in the world can join and participate with Rudolph and on his reindeer game. People would have the ability to search for the room type they want. They want to do shotgun only. They want to do explosives only. And in playing these rooms, players will rank up earning XP. The more XP you earn, the more customized options you will unlock to host rooms. So for example, say you hit level 25 in casual and competitive, you unlock an AK-47 or some shit, right? Well here, if you hit level 25, you unlock something like anti-gravity mode where super jumps are allowed on a map, or one-man army and new tube options in rooms. All the shit from casual and competitive modes will be unlocked at level 1. Attachments, perks, everything in the game. What you will be unlocking in arcade are unique game modes and unique things only located in the arcade mode. Whether it's a perk, whether it's commando, whether it's x-ray vision, anything you can imagine would be located here in the arcade mode. Now, I would also have to roll out 2 limitations to prevent people from trying to host too many rooms. Otherwise, you know, you have 1 million created rooms and only 10 people searching for the shit. First limit is that hosts will only earn 25% of the XP. Similar to the point reduction in casual, there will be some repercussions for hosting rooms. I don't want too many hosts creating rooms and sitting there with empty fucking lobbies. And the second rule that I have is that people will only be able to host a room if they're in a party. No solo host, otherwise we'll have a shitload of people making up empty rooms and nobody will fucking join. At least with a party, you have people that want to play a certain game type with certain game rules. You know, I might even consider maybe an unlock in the system where you could host a room solo or some shit like that, but that all needs testing or whatever the fuck. People will have the ability to search for a particular game with certain rules, so if you don't give a fuck, you can play whatever game you like. Just search random and get any random fucking game. The idea here is to allow players the ability to control odd games, sort of how we ended up with game modes like Infected and shit like that. This is a user-created element that Call of Duty has only partially added throughout the years, but now it's a fully fleshed out game mode for us. And much like the expanding tournament idea with each week, you can also treat arcade mode to weekly updates. Think of it as adding like prestige levels to your characters. Every so often, developers roll out unlocks for new game modes, like say night vision only maps or feature to alter gun properties. I mean, can you imagine a shotgun turning into a flamethrower? Or assault rifle straight out of Contra in the 80s with that spreader gun. Remember that shit? All those red balls of death flying from your gun? Anyway, any option you can think of can be added. We're only limited by the bounds of our imagination. So yes, quick scoping here still exists. And it had its own game mode. Knifing still exists with other knifers. And people can control the rules of public rooms as if they're now in private rooms. This is an addition that Call of Duty could have benefited from years ago, but never took the time to think of. Now you have the ability to fully customize anything you want in a room, no matter how crazy the idea, and invite the world to your madness. You know, people thought I was removing all the fun from Call of Duty. In all the videos I've had, all the complaints I had were about the fun factor or the arcade factor. But meanwhile, I've had this mode planned out from the very beginning of the series to make sure that Call of Duty continues its arcadish bullshit from the past. And I'm sure PC people are sitting here saying, I hacked my shit, I have all those game modes already. Well, guess what? Fuck you. My vision behind these gaming modes, or whatever you want to call them, is to get like-minded people into playing with other like-minded people. Competitive players can now worry about statistical analysis against other players. Casual players can go into rooms without worrying about kill-death ratio, wins and losses, and all of that bullshit. They can play as a noob and be surrounded by other noobs who just don't give a fuck. And finally, arcade mode allows for every stupid fucking idea that Infinity Ward and Treyarch have created all these years and thrown it into one fucking area. I mean, honestly, how do these assholes not think of this all these fucking years? Anyway, this was a long-ass video with a ton of information, but as you can see, it had to be put in one fucking video. So anyway, as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and all that good shit, and I'll see you guys in the next BluePrint video.